wants me to refer to them as So, yeah, they sent me an email and they told me this really horrific story, which is a non-paranormal experience that they actually went through. But this, honestly, it sounds like it's the plot to a horror movie. So, with that being said, and of course, without any further ado, let's get into tonight's story, shall we? Alrighty, so as I mentioned, tonight's story was sent to us by a subscriber, and their story is called The Best Roommate Ever, a housing horror story. So let's just jump straight into it. Back in the summer of 2021, I really wanted to move away. I was so desperate that I accepted a somewhat random job 1,000 miles away, and I had only 2 weeks to pack, drive across the country, and find a new place to live in time for me to start my new job. I loaded all of my belongings into my little car and I headed out on a 3-day drive. The new city was a large one in the Pacific Northwest. I had a small handful of leads on Craigslist posts where people were looking for roommates. Each day of my journey, more and more of them fell through or had settled on other arrangements, so by the time I got to the new city, I only had one option left: a room for rent in an old house with 3 other people. Everything from the post seemed fine, so I went to visit the house. It was a sunny day when I arrived to see the place and meet the roommates. The front yard had a little garden. The house was old, a little shabby, but seemed fine, and it was actually very inexpensive, with no lease and no deposit. As I had almost no money in my account at the time, that seemed like a really good deal. The sun shone into the front room where I sat with 2 of the roommates, drinking coffee and talking things over. The 3rd roommate was absent. Of the 2 roommates present, one was close to my age, mid-20s, we'll call them B, and the other was about 40, we'll call them A. Now, these people were friendly. They were serving me food, they were showing me around. We laughed and had what I saw as a cordial introduction. They assured me that the 3rd tenant would be around for me to meet soon, and they guaranteed me that I would like them. Apparently, this person, also in their mid-20s, worked as a dancer and was very busy with late hours. This 3rd roommate we'll call Z. The 2 bedrooms upstairs belonged to the older tenant A and the absent dancer. enjoyed decorating this way. Now, inside, I made a joke about the ribcage, asking A if someone had been a bad roommate. They creepily smiled and said, "Oh no, that was the best roommate ever." I laughed nervously, not wanting to seem like a wimp, and I tried to forget about it. Soon after moving in, the ribcage disappeared, but the creepy happenings that would eventually lead me to move out were just getting started. Now right away I noticed that B and A did not get along as well as they had let on. The two of them were very passive-aggressive and they badmouthed each other to me. Also, Zed never showed up. I never met them or saw any evidence that they were ever living at the property besides the decor and the petite shoes that the others claimed belonged to the dancer. Now these items never moved. They just sat there gathering dust. B and A continued to say how sweet and how cool Zed was and that I would meet them very soon. A was a stagehand and event host for goth/circus shows. As such, some of the decorations in the house looked spooky, and sometimes there would be a strange trunk or other prop left in the living room. A proudly informed me that the upstairs crawl space featured a doll dungeon filled with haunted-looking dolls. Oh, absolutely not. Oh, hell no. Hell no. Hell no is all I'm gonna say. Now, they said it was a great house feature, I'm sure it is, and would invite me to come up and see it every once in a while. I would usually find an excuse to decline, but I would play it cool, not wanting to seem afraid or unhappy. Now, there are a lot of macabre props in the basement as well, and A would spend time down there building more props. The sound of the chainsaw right beneath my bedroom at night made me uneasy. At night? Why would A be building spooky, creepy ass props at night with a chainsaw in the basement? Anyways, sometimes when I would go down to the basement to wash my clothes, I would hear something behind me, but saw nothing when I turned, except for the cobwebs, stained walls, and creepy props in the dank light of a single bulb. One night, I woke up feeling intense dread for no apparent reason. I left my room to make sure that the front door was locked, thinking I would feel better knowing that. Then I decided to check the back door, which was in the basement. I don't know why I felt the need to do this, but I went down the flimsy stairs and I found that the back door was wide open and it led into the pitch black outdoor stairs. I heard the creepy sounds around me as I shut it and bolted back to my bedroom. Now B began telling me how sketchy A was, and that paying rent to A gave them an inappropriate amount of power over us. Eventually, B was encouraged to move on to a different situation, and on the moving day, A was yelling about how messy B had left the room, angrily throwing their stuff out of the front door and cussing them out. Now, I was alone living in the house with A because Zed had still not shown their face and B's room was now vacant. A still occasionally invited me upstairs to come look at the doll dungeon. Now, as the autumn progressed, my mood began to plummet. I never left my room or ever tried to explore the city. I figured I was just tired from my job, which was over full-time and not working out So when I wasn't at home, my things were at the mercy of whoever A let into the house. My windows didn't lock at all, and they were ground level. A made mentions of being able to scale the side of the house and get in through the windows, and they weren't great about keeping the doors locked up. I started keeping my room meticulously, freakishly clean. I arranged every item just so I could tell if anything had been moved around. I braced my door with a chair at night. Every day when I got home from work, I checked my room to make sure nobody was hiding in there. Much of my stuff was still in boxes because something in me said that I would have to run soon. I then decided to do a little background check on A in the hopes that it would ease my anxiety. Sure, they had kind of a spooky style, but I was still hoping they were just eccentric and not actually dangerous. Now I couldn't find much, but one thing I did find sent my anxiety through the ceiling. I found an anonymous letter from several years ago in which the author described the actions of a particular circus group that had since disbanded. Apparently, this group would have events that involved violation, abuse, and dangerous drug practice leading to assault. There was a list of names that the author specifically said were dangerous individuals to be avoided. Now, A's name was on that list, along with some other names that I recognized from their Facebook. I tried not to panic, as this was not an official source or a police report, but it creeped me out thoroughly, and I knew in that moment that I wanted to move out. Something to note about A is that often when we would talk, they would make an effort to say what a good person they were. Now see, that is a red flag in my book. I mean, if you have to convince people that you're a good person by telling them constantly, I mean, that's never good news. Now, they would express how much they support women and sex workers and what a feminist they were. It was a bit much, as I felt they were trying to gain my trust with it or counter what I had found in that article, even though I never brought up what I had discovered out of pure fear. I played dumb, pretending to trust them. I didn't want them to know that I was planning on leaving, figuring that when they discovered I wasn't financially useful or convinced of their character, they would stop being civil with me. I was becoming increasingly agitated about Zed's absence. Where could this person be? Why are they paying rent at a place they weren't living? Were they alright? I ended up finding another house to live in. I knew someone there, and I was so relieved when a room became available. I gradually moved my stuff in secret and only broke the news to A once I was almost ready to turn in my key. I would continue to pay out the month so as to not leave anybody in a pickle, but I wouldn't have to be there. A was bummed out to see me go, but luckily didn't get upset or throw my things. One day, the only thing I had left to move was my mattress. My co-worker was on the way with a truck to help me take it to the new place. I had dragged the mattress to the curb and was leaving the house once and for all when A came down the stairs. They commented on how beautiful I had left the room. "I'm sad to see you go. You were seriously the best roommate ever." Now that freaked me out, reminding me of the skeleton from day one. But then they said, "Hey, since it's your last day, now would be a great time to finally see the doll dungeon." My heart sank as I heard my voice say space in the wall. The door was like a cabinet because the roof was so pitched there wasn't much of a vertical wall. If you peered into the crawl space, you could see at the very back what looked like a miniature old-fashioned door with the little knob and everything. From Alice in Wonderland. Like, that's what I'm picturing, like the door from Alice in Wonderland. Hey, you can't pass unless you eat a cookie. That makes you smaller. Anyways, carrying on with the story. It was about 3 feet tall and 1 foot wide, painted white and quite cute. He said that that was the doll dungeon and that I would have to enter the already cramped crawl space to get to it, and also eat that cookie to make you smaller. I said I have a thing against tiny spaces and that I'd look if A was the one to crawl in and open the mini door. A agreed. They entered the crawl space, walk-in doubled over for how low the angled roof was, and opened the miniature door. Inside the doll dungeon was an impressive collection of the freakiest dolls I'd ever seen. They were all antique and really battered, broken, scuffed and dirty. They were all different sizes. One looked like a clown. The walls inside this tiny place were wallpapered with dainty floral designs. This just keeps getting creepier and creepier. I cannot. Dainty floral designs, are you kidding me? But the scariest thing about it, oh god. But the scariest thing about it was that lying in full view on the floor of the doll dungeon was the rib cage and spine that I had seen in the garden when I moved in. I pretended to be amused, but couldn't get down the stairs fast enough. I quickly said my goodbyes and wished them luck searching for a new tenant. Then I made a beeline for the sidewalk where my friend arrived to help me load up the mattress. I hopped in my car and noped all the way to the new house, feeling like I had made a narrow escape. This story gave me absolute chills. Like, I have heart palpitations at the moment. A doll dungeon, seriously? Seriously? I'm gonna address the elephant in the room, right? Are you thinking what I'm thinking with this human ribcage and spine thing and this roommate, Zed, who never showed up? Are we thinking the same thing here? I think we are. I mean, there's every chance that it was a prop, seeing as A is clearly, into that kind of stuff, and it's part of their job. But is it part of their job to build a doll dungeon in the attic? Is it part of their job to sit there crawled over because it's such a tiny space and sit there and wallpaper the walls in dainty floral patterns? I didn't think so. They did that because they wanted to. And I mean, if you want to create a scary, like creepy, terrifying ass doll dungeon in your attic in a crawl space, something is wrong with you. I mean, change my mind. And then you put a human ribcage and spine in the middle of it on full display. place in the time that this subscriber lived there. I think we're all thinking the same thing, and it is bloody terrifying. Like, it is bloody terrifying. Especially because I was already suspecting it in the very beginning of the story when the ribcage was mentioned, and then it was mentioned that they never saw Zed. I was already suspecting it. So when we got to the part of the story where I was moving out and A asked them to please come and see the doll dungeon, I was like, you ain't getting out of that doll dungeon anymore. I mean, I thought it was done. But then again, they were able to send me this email, so I should have known better, really. Wow. This story is wild. Wild. And I just want to say, I know you're watching this. I am so sorry that you had to live in such a horrific situation, that you had to deal with all of this, and it is completely understandable that you had mental health problems and anxiety problems because of it, and I am so sorry. I'm so sorry that you had to go through that, but I am so incredibly glad you made it out of there. In my opinion, you did make a narrow escape, because I was full well expecting that a guy or girl, I think it was a man, to whip out their chainsaw and to just, go to town, and you would never be seen again. So I'm very, very, very glad that I made it out alive and well and found a better place to live. Wow. I would absolutely, if I was in this situation, I would shit myself. Like, there is no doubt in my mind I would instantly shit myself. Like, yeah, that's just the reality of it. A doll dungeon though, Jesus. I don't know, can you go to the police with that? Like, I have a really creepy roommate that I've just narrowly escaped, and they've got a really creepy doll dungeon with a human ribcage and a spine in the attic. Like, do you think the police would bother to check it out? Wow. I mean, at least, because A would have started looking for new roommates, I'm guessing, so at least you could probably, report the listing on Craigslist. I've never dealt with Craigslist, I've never visited it in my life, online, so I don't know how it works, but I'm assuming you can report listings on Craigslist, right? Can you? Enlighten me, people. Enlighten me. Anyways, first of all, thank you so much for sending me your story and for letting me share your story with everyone on this channel. Secondly, thank you so much for choosing